just came in. His hat is flat on his head. There he is, right there. With the glasses, the little guy. I got him. I know you're proud.
Please be seated to our commencement. The authority to grant degrees from the University of Michigan is vested by the people of the state of Michigan in our elected Board of Regents. Representing the board today, I'm honored to introduce to you first Regent Thomas Roach of Ann Arbor. Alumni, because it is through their generous contributions to the Alumni Fund that we are provided with resources that make the commencement and reception following possible. I'm very pleased to announce that this year's graduating class has made...
Upon special request, the faculty members have asked me to make an important announcement to the graduating pharmacy students. Quote, no pharmacy student will be allowed to party until 2 of the following 3 requirements are met. 1, that the student is in attendance for at least 20 of the 40 hours in their last week of rotation. 2, that PharmD projects are completed. And 3, that faculty members are invited to party with the students. But before we begin the celebration, I want to sincerely thank my classmates for entrusting me with the opportunity to speak to you on their behalf about simply what it was like to be a pharmacy student at the University of Michigan for 4 years. This is a day I will never forget and will cherish the memories for years to come. The theme which I have selected utilizes a 4-letter acronym, a term I'm sure we're all familiar with in one way or another. SOAP. To most people, soap is a substance we use to cleanse ourselves with. Its primary purpose is to prevent us from smelling offensive to others as well as ourselves. But to pharmacy students, this term takes on a whole different meaning. To the students, soap is much more than something we use to wash the dirt off of our bodies. In our training to become clinical pharmacists, we have used this 4-letter acronym to assist us in the evaluation of patients and their drug therapy. Since the middle of our 3rd year, the word soap has rung loudly in our ears, both in our sleep and when awake. Instructors have used this term so frequently that students didn't want to hear or see it, except in Shar, of course. Nevertheless, the use of this acronym has enabled us to become proficient in the monitoring of drug therapy and the evaluation of patients' medical problems. But don't worry, pharmacy graduates, I have avoided the temptation to soap out a case. No patient monitoring on this day. But I will use soap to serve a more useful purpose, to draw an analogy between each of the 4 categories of soap and our 4 years together in pharmacy school. Each letter of the acronym represents a separate category and has its own separate meaning, just as each of the 4 years in pharmacy school has had its own unique characteristics. The S, which stands for subjective, is a word which well characterizes our first year experience in pharmacy school. When used in the context of patient monitoring, the term subjective was used to describe the verbal complaints of the patient, such as, my stomach hurts, or I have a headache. Similarly, our first year was plagued with subjective complaints from students associated with the anguish of our difficult experience. It was not uncommon to hear, I swear I didn't have these headaches before I started studying so much. Or I'm sure these stomach cramps are associated with the study of thermodynamic principles. But even with the persistent complaints, each and every one of us pushed on in pursuit of a far-off goal that we couldn't yet identify with, the goal of becoming a doctor of pharmacy. Before we knew it, we were P2s, or second-year pharmacy students, with the first year and all the subjective complaints behind us. This year was best represented by the term objective. Objective being something real, with substance, or something aimed at or striving for. It was a period in which reality had set in, and a higher purpose for pharmacy school began to take shape. The moment we had been anxiously awaiting finally arrived, the opportunity to take pharmacology. This class was a nightmare. Of course, most students would give their right arm not to take, but our class, we were eager, enthusiastic, and ready for the challenge. And boy, was it a challenge. Not only did we have pharmacology, but we had 5 other courses to drain our already dissipating energy. This was the year that NoDoz and bottles of pop saturated with caffeine became our constant companions. Without question, the second year was the most demanding of the 4 years, but certainly well worth the sweat and tears that were shed. For now, we were armed with the tools of knowledge which enabled us to apply the concepts we had learned to everyday life. From there, we entered our 3rd year, the year of the assessment, represented by the letter A in the acronym SOAP. Assessment being a process in which one determines the significance, the importance, or the value of something. It was in this year that the assessment phase of our education was put into gear. Not only were we now able to assess the value of scientific literature and the significance of drug levels in the blood, but we were better equipped to understand the value of our education and the unlimited career opportunities that would become available to us upon graduation. Unlike the first 2 years, everything started to come together and make sense. We could finally talk to friends and family about their medication and feel somewhat comfortable making recommendations. This was the year of transition, where the focus shifted from the basic sciences to the clinical sciences. Therapeutics was the core course of this 3rd year. The emphasis placed on the use of a problem-solving approach to evaluate drug therapy. As the end of this year approached, the level of enthusiasm and anticipation skyrocketed, for we knew that after this year, homework problems, lectures, and examinations would become a permanent part of our past. At this point, the writing was on the wall. We knew that the end of our journey towards graduation was near. My, oh my, how time had flown by. Our 4th year was finally upon us. This was the year of clinical rotations, short white lab coats, and students armed with little green books, ready to fire answers whenever necessary. It was time to put the plan, represented by the letter P, into effect. Our new assignment, to roam the menacing halls of the university hospital in search of patients. Our mission, to bring together the concepts learned in the classroom over the previous 3 years and apply them to real-life situations in a hospital setting. To monitor and evaluate drug therapy and confidently offer recommendations to both doctors and patients. But don't be deceived. These lofty goals were not easily achieved by most pharmacy students. At the beginning of our P4 year, it was not uncommon to find students spending hours upon hours trying to decipher the hieroglyphic-like writing found in patients' charts, or running from floor to floor in hot pursuit of the chart of a patient who had already been discharged from the hospital. Believe me, it was a frustrating and at times a seemingly hopeless experience. But fortunately for us, it was not long before we became more familiar with the system. We became more proficient at not only gathering information, but disseminating it to respective healthcare professionals and patients as well. Doctors, nurses, and medical students relied on us considerably for information dealing with issues of drug as well as non-drug therapies. We were in most cases made to feel as an integral part of the healthcare team. Interestingly enough, the biggest reality that became apparent to us during the course of this final year was that the educational process never ends, and that following our graduation, we'll have to even become more intimately involved in the process of learning. Over the 4 years, we have come a long way, from struggling and bumbling P1 students to confident and eager P4s, ready to tackle the challenges of professional pharmacy. A struggle has taken place, obstacles have been overcome, and the sweet smell of success is in the air. For these reasons, this should be a day of joyous celebration for both graduates and loved ones. And it is at moments like this that we must take time to recognize those persons in our lives who are responsible for us being here. For as each student in the graduating class knows, if not for the uncompromising emotional and financial support on the behalf of our loved ones, we would not be here today. We dedicate this day of jubilation to you, our families and close friends, for the honor it's well deserved. From each and every one of us in the graduating class, we say thank you. In addition, we would like to thank the faculty and staff at the College of Pharmacy for making our stay a pleasant one and offering knowledge so we may someday do the same for others who follow us. In closing, I offer my deepest congratulations to the graduating class and wish upon you all the successes that life has to offer. And I challenge my classmates that in whatever you decide to do in life, you do it with all of the vitality inside you. And I guarantee you, the world will be at your fingertips. Thank you.
Professor of Health Professions Education at the University of Illinois at Chicago. A pharmacist who received his professional education at the University of Illinois, he completed his PhD degree at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Manassi is the immediate past president and chairman of the board of the American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy and the senior policy fellow in the Committee on Drugs and Public Policy at the University of Maryland. Dr. Manassi has been an active participant in professional activities.
University of Michigan, faculty of the College of Pharmacy, honored alumni, parents, spouses, friends, and families of the graduates, and members of the Doctor of Pharmacy class of 1990. I promised to do that, but then maybe I should savor the occasion. Indeed, how often does an Illini get to stand unassaulted in the middle of the big blue? My computer tells me that there are 1,732 words to this talk, that it's geared to about the 9th grade level of education, that I've sufficiently used an appropriate amount of adverbs and adjective, and thus, here goes. The pleasure of this moment is perhaps embedded in the vicarious pride that I take in the accomplishments of students, educators, and parents during occasions such as this. You've accomplished what you thought you might never accomplish and impossible at times. Most of all, you've proven to yourself that you can meet challenges that may have seemed indeed insurmountable. I'm proud of you. We're all proud of you. All of us in pharmacy education take pride in recognizing the graduates of our schools. Not only do you bring honor to yourselves, your parents and spouses and friends, you also do our profession proud. I'm confident that our profession will be better off because of your accomplishment and your entry into it. Savor your accomplishments and be continuously thankful. This is not going to work. Be thankful for your talents, your health, and your freedom to inquire. Be thankful as well for the encouragement you've received from parents, friends, teachers, and perhaps even brothers and sisters, above those of the prescriber. I hope that you'll always remember that your license as a registered pharmacist will be granted to you by the people of the state of Michigan or other states where you will be originally licensed. Your license will not be granted by the employer for whom you will be working, nor will. On behalf of all patients applying the healing power of medicinal agents, I'm asking you, the class of 1990, to care. The profession of pharmacy is presently going through a substantive and exciting transformation. This transformation is taking us to the information age, the age where knowledge per se is not paramount, but rather where the appropriate utilization of knowledge as information will serve the betterment of mankind. In such transformation, change of outlook, viewpoints, and tasks in the workplace are the order of the day. You know what I'm talking about. You've experienced, I'm sure, the frustration sometimes of practicing the way you believe to be right in the service of the patient. Those frustrations need to be constructively dealt with by challenging the status quo. Allow me to be more specific. I believe it to be unreasonable and even dangerous to patients' well-being for one pharmacist to fill 200 prescriptions per day and all of the entitlements and details that go with that process. However, some work environments are structured such that this quota or piecework mentality is the corporate managerial expectation. Appropriate use of technical support staff, automated systems, and effective workflow may allow you to meet such expectations. But always remember that the patient must be the center of your professional practice. The patient's outcome is paramount. I therefore ask you to challenge the status quo. By virtue of your education and clinical experience, you have been empowered to challenge the status quo. We must begin to measure our social contributions in terms of patient outcomes, not by simply the number of prescriptions we have filled. Such a change in emphasis calls for a challenge to the status quo. We must begin to spend our time in the transference of our science and clinical skills to the betterment of patient care. Clinical pharmacokinetic management of the patient in the community can be a reality. In order to effectively do that, you must challenge the status quo. Don't ever believe that you are overeducated and underutilized. And don't allow some of your peers and supervisors to intimidate you into believing that. How can anyone be ever overeducated? It seems to me a classical oxymoron. Moreover, I sincerely believe that one chooses to be underutilized. And don't believe that you're not being paid for caring. Look introspectively at your salary and earning potential. Perhaps the empowerment of education is best expressed by world-renowned educator Maria Montessori, and I quote from her work. The greatness of the human personality begins at the hour of birth. From this almost mystic affirmation, there comes what may seem a strange conclusion, that in fact, education must in fact begin at birth. Your graduation and licensure will assuredly lead you to a secure and well-paying such that beginning salaries are substantially higher than beginning salaries in other fields, including engineering, law, and architecture. The siren song of affluence is definitely in the cards as you begin your professional life. But I hope for you that affluence will not mean that you place your desires for material things above your aspirations to be a caring person. The late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. puts this notion in enchanting perspective. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to have and know the second theory of thermodynamics to serve. Some of you will be glad to hear that. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Likewise, I trust that you will find your personal peace in the service you provide for others, that you will personally be disturbed when you witness injustice, that you will be troubled by the troubles of other people, whether across the city, the state, the nation, or the world, that you will never wish to be alone and isolated from the issues facing our healthcare system and the people it is meant to serve. I truly hope that your sense of personal peace will be found in alleviating the pain of others. Finding this level of personal peace will require your application of caring values and professional leadership, qualities for which you have been well educated at the University of Michigan. You will need to determine your part. You must exert your part and your will to stand for something in that, or otherwise you will rest in the assurance that you'll fall for everything. I've given you a formidable agenda, but this agenda needs channeling by the likes of each one of you in this University of Michigan School of Pharmacy class of 1990, Doctors of Pharmacy. As we honor each one of you, you've been given much. I would ask you to consider seriously my call to caring, challenging the status quo, and putting your affluence and personal peace in proper perspective. I also ask you to exert your leadership and vision. I ask that not for myself, but on behalf of a society who so very much requires your leadership, and in fact deserves it. My request calls for you to make a commitment and to have a vision and aspiration for the needs of the American public insofar as pharmaceutical services and other aspects of healthcare are concerned. I also call on you to always share the honor of caring for another human being. Caring for another human being is honorable and a morally right thing to do. Think about Kermit the Frog and Mr. Bojangles, both representing refreshing views of honor. And I'd like to quote just from this morning's newspaper in admiring the contributions of Sammy Davis with a cartoon that said, "Who can go to heaven? The Candyman can." I conclude my remarks by sharing with you some words from a United States President, Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men, and I'll add women, with great talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence, determination alone are omnipotent. Your persistence and determination have brought you to this convocation this afternoon. We congratulate you for that and share with each one of you a justifiable pride of accomplishment. As we look forward to marking your leadership in our profession and society as you pursue your further ambitions, don't lose your values for the best care of the patient. Don't allow yourself to fall to a weak vision. And most of all, don't forget your purpose as a pharmacist in a clinical profession. I'll leave you with this definition of success. He or she has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has gained the respect of intelligent men, the trust of pure women, and the love of little children, who has left the world a better place than he found it, whether by an improved poppy, a perfect poem, or a rescued soul, who has never lacked appreciation of Earth's beauty or failed to express it, who has looked for the best in others and given them the best that he had, whose life was an inspiration and whose memory a benediction. Godspeed to each one of you and best wishes for much success. Thank you very much.
Have a large number of illustrious alumni, and we continue to recognize selectively their accomplishments. The Committee of Alumni, Students, and Faculty once again have evaluated nominees and made recommendations to the Executive Committee of the College. And it's with honor that I will call upon this year's recipients to step forward. Associate Dean Richard De Leon will assist me. Louis J. Leeson.
Biopharmaceutics, Ciba-Geigy Pharmaceuticals, Summit, New Jersey. For 33 years, you have uniquely distinguished yourself as a scientist in the pharmaceutical industry. Your title, Distinguished Research Fellow in Biopharmaceutics, is the highest honor Ciba-Geigy bestows on someone working as a scientist and is a tribute to your outstanding accomplishments and your international reputation. Your contributions have been significant. As a doctoral student at the University of Michigan, your work on the solid-state instability of aspirin led to the Leeson-Maddox model, which changed the way we think about solid-state drug degradation and is the standard against which all work in this area is measured. Upon entering industry, you applied your skills to initiate important new programs in pharmacokinetics, dissolution rate theory and measurement, and the development of drug delivery systems. just as bioavailability and its role in drug therapy was starting to be recognized. You have produced numerous publications and patents, a feat not easily achieved in industry. And you are widely invited to share your knowledge at symposia, conferences, and courses in pharmaceutics. But facts and figures alone cannot express the respect and esteem many in the field of pharmacokinetics hold for you. As one of your peers said, Lou loves his science, and he is always building bridges between people and ideas. It is a privilege to acknowledge your career of accomplishment and to present to you this College of Pharmacy Distinguished Alumnus Award.
Robert Victor Smith.
Robert Victor Smith, Master of Science in Pharmaceutical Chemistry, 1964, Doctor of Philosophy in Pharmaceutical Chemistry, 1968, Vice Provost from the University of Michigan. You began your from 1974 to 1983. While in Austin, James E. Bowerly Professorship of Drug Dynamics. Your growing contributions to the direction of pharmacy education and research were recognized when you were appointed Dean of the College of Pharmacy at Washington State University in 1985. After leading a successful self-study and strategic planning effort which resulted in the development of the Health Research and Education Center in Spokane, you were elevated 2 years later to your present dual position of Vice Provost for Research and Dean of the Graduate School. You are responsible for policy, planning, and quality in research, and for 104 graduate degree programs in the university's 8 colleges. You have established the Washington Technology Center at the Graduate School, founded Universe, a magazine about university research and scholarship, and spearheaded campus-wide strategic planning efforts in research and graduate education. Your accomplishments have brought us honor, and now it is our privilege to present to you the College of Pharmacy Distinguished Alumnus Award.
I'm confident that in future years we'll have the privilege of honoring some of the members in the current graduating class. This is also a time of honoring and recognizing those alumni celebrating the 50th anniversary of their graduation from the College of Pharmacy. I suggest that the present class give particular notice to the ceremony of induction into the Emeritus Society of the University, and I hope that each of you will be fortunate enough to return to this campus in the year 2040 to receive yours. Dr. Deborah Wagner, who is Chairman of the College of Pharmacy Alumni Board of Governors, will join me. Graduating from Ball Edler Company, Duran Company, and finally Lloyd Brothers before assuming the position as Chief Pharmacist at the University of Michigan Health Service in 1965, a position he held until his retirement in 1983. He has been active in retirement, serving as a consultant to the industry and serving his alma mater. We are pleased to recognize his professional achievements on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of his graduation. Congratulations. Next, I'm delighted to introduce Ms. Mary Pat Woodfin Petrillo, who will lead the class in the
At this time, I vow to devote my professional life to the service of mankind through the profession of pharmacy. I will consider the welfare of humanity and the relief of human suffering my primary concerns. I will use my knowledge and skills to the best of my ability in serving the public and other health professionals. I will do my best to keep abreast of developments
recognition of the accomplishments of the graduating class, we will proceed to call each student forward to receive his or her hood, a sign of the
Stephen Alan Wayne Kernow. Marianne Esther Davia. Susan K. Felt. Ellen Marie Harris. Michael Paul Height. Wei Ling Ho. Ruth Clee Horner. Cynthia Marie. Laurel Ethel Hausman. Barbara Kaplan. Kathleen Marie Klingel. Bruce Michael Kutinsky. Alan Gerard Landry. Deborah Jean McCartney. Tina Maria Mace. Tina Marie Maloney. Alan Martin. Tina and Michelle Stuico.